Oh, goodness. Hey, everybody. Howard Fitzpatrick, welcome. I just had a crazy dream, and I'm coming off of it. And the only reason why I'm really talking about this is because I was talking about the first one earlier, the one about the fighting. And so I just had another dream. I'm going to try not to forget it. I ain't even recorded. I probably should have, but this will be my recording. Um, so I just had a dream. It was so weird. There was this house with a lot of steps, and I went outside to do something. And I was trying to get back inside. And when I was there was this one dude who was looking for a girl named Selena. And there was another girl, one of my old classmates, I think, at least now that I'm thinking about the dream. And even, I'm pretty sure it was her. And I remember being like, you should just tell him that, like, that why does this dude keep coming around? And I don't even think I said anything. I was just like, because, so Selena was the name. But in real life, I know a girl named Selena, and she's not single. So I was like, I don't know why this dude keep looking for Selena. Selena is taken. And I was going back to the house, and oh my nose, it's so dry or whatever. And I was going back to the house. I don't even know why I have these, but y'all know I like to touch cards, I guess. Um, and then he was like, he came back around, and he was like, "Hey, so like, when's the last time you saw Selena? Like, is Selena here?" And then my friend was like, "Hey, like, I actually haven't seen her in a minute. Last I knew, she was in this place or whatever, and she was doing this and she was doing that. And if you still haven't heard from her, if you haven't seen her by now, and you've been looking for her this long, then she's probably not interested, and you should accept that and move on." And he was like, "Okay," but it wasn't okay. So I haven't actually watched it, but it was around um, whenever International like Women's Day was, so like months ago, maybe like June, July, maybe even May. Um, I kept seeing a whole bunch of Powerpuff Girl stuff, and Bliss, that's her name, or Bliss Tina, something, 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 but they just call her Bliss. I only saw clips, so he was like, okay. And so he was going to basically create Bliss. And by that point, I'm just trying to get back in the house. But it's really, really, really difficult for me to get into the house. And something happened to where the house and the door had turned into like an iPad, but the steps were the same. And the steps were so narrow that it was like hard for me to like not fall down the steps because I could like barely catch my footing. And for some reason, because the steps were that narrow, it's like I had to go down a few steps and try to open the door and then like pull myself into it or something. And it was so difficult. And so then he ends up creating Bliss. And the girl who was like, Selena isn't here, and somebody else by that point was outside. And then they said something about something interfering with the laws of reality in this dream. And again, I'm just focused on getting in the house. And I was like, and so in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're talking about Bliss. But then they said something about a male. And Bliss Tina is not a male. And then they're looking at me because I'm the only other dude out there besides the dude who went off to go and create Bliss. And I was like, all I'm trying to do is like get in this house and and not fall down the steps to this house because they're so narrow. But then they were looking at me or talking about me like I had this ability to then affect reality. It was such a weird dream, but not any weirder than some of the ones I've had. And so again, like I said, like the door or the house or whatever had turned into an iPad. And I was like, okay, so well, somebody help me like get in the house. So basically, all I had to do was like instead of like a door, think of the screen of the iPad as a portal. And then I basically had to like put it above me and go in like one arm and then another arm and then like pull myself through. And I was like, I don't know how this is gonna fit around my waist or how I'm gonna get through here, but I ended up getting through there. And then I think some other stuff happened. I think they were still like arguing with the dude who created Bliss. And again, like Bliss was basically like an overgrown Powerpuff Girl, but in this dream, it was just like a girl. Um, and I don't know how he created Bliss, and I'm the one that ended up with the power. But what all I was trying to do was get back in the house. I'm like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And so then I get in there, and the scene changes, right? And I'm talking to some people, and there's two factions. There's two sides. One of them is super like proper or whatever, and by this point, I don't think I was me anymore. Right outside of the dream, I was me. Now this maybe it was a separate dream, but they're connected. So I still had the power to influence and affect reality. But this time I was like a girl or something. Maybe I was Bliss this time. I don't know. And then there was someone else who was like super, super, super proper. And I didn't even know that this other girl had the ability that she had. I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna fly over and tell these people like what just happened to me or something like that. I don't know. And they're on this huge ladder, almost like the steps outside when I was trying to do whatever, but they're on a ladder. And I can't even remember what they were doing. But I fly over. And I didn't just fly, I had to like in the dream like convince myself basically like I had to believe that I could do it and convince myself that it was possible in reality. This is the most like lucid type non-lucid dream I've ever had because of the ability to affect real. I guess there was another dream, but in that dream it wasn't a person that had the ability to affect reality. It was a space that was really, really susceptible to the desires of its inhabitants, and so it would. The magic was in the space instead of in a person. But anyway, so I fly up there, and then one girl is like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't just fly up here. Like, what if somebody sees you? Like, you can't just do that." And I'm like, I don't think I did anything wrong. Like, you know, it's like, who's to say that they can't fly too? And so then there's this other, like, very, very, very bland girl, extremely bland and temperament and in every sense of the word bland. And I don't even know if she was saying anything by that point because the other girl was yelling at me. And then all of a sudden, I just had like a cupcake or something in my hand, and I'm eating the cupcake and I am like enjoying it. And then somebody was like, "Hey, thanks." And he was like eating a cookie or something on the ground. And I'm looking around like, and like everyone has like these like everything turns into a cartoon looking thing and everyone got these giant cookie heads. Everything is sweet. Everyone is sweet. but like cookies with like eyes. Like the body was weird and the head was just a giant cookie and the head eyes. They're like, wow, this is awesome. And that's when the other girl started talking to me. She's like, you can't do that. And I was like, well, I can't enjoy this cupcake that I have, but it's so good and it's so sweet and it's so delicious. And she was like, yeah, no, you can't do that because you have the ability to impact reality. And I was like, well, if I can't enjoy a cupcake, girl, then hey, I don't necessarily too much care because I'm really enjoying this right now. And then we started fighting. Well, they attacked me. Well, it sort of started in my mind first, but it wasn't intentional because I kept like the way I was flying or maintaining my height or hovering at this point, like my feet were facing the ground, but I kept getting an image of my foot like facing the ladder that they were on and it just like projecting out a force that would like knock the ladder over. Even though that's not what like I actually wanted to do. But maybe I was getting like really annoyed. And then like a fight broke out. But like a fight broke out because the girl who wasn't initially talking to me, she had the same ability that I had. And I guess she had been so zen for so long that like when she finally snapped, like everything changed. Like we were people again. It was a little like spacey. And there was no, there was this one dude. So like again, there were two factions or something, even though it didn't originally seem like it. And they were like super strict and like boring. And when I came in the house, or when I maybe it was a completely different dream. I woke up and went back to sleep several times. And I need to stop doing that because it'll be October before I know it, and I have until December to finish this work. But I am having a few days of like jobby stuff because there's a job fair coming up, so it makes sense. But anyway, so there were two people, they were actually twins. And by the point that everyone was like sweets or whatever, because I was starting to get annoyed at the girl because I wanted to enjoy my cupcake. And it was a chocolate cupcake. And in real life, I don't even like chocolate cupcakes like that. But in this dream, they were so good. It was the icing. The icing was really good. Um, and that's when it was so weird because they were charging together, and there was like one who held like there was their hair was some type of way, and one it was like basically touching the other one through the hair, and then maybe that's what powered them up or something. I don't know. And I think they are the ones that actually came to like kick the other girls off the ladder. And again, maybe that's why, because I was like, it's so weird because I kept getting like a visual of like a foot about to hit the ladder and like projecting out a force. But again, the way I was hovering, like my feet were pointed towards the ground. And then they did that. And then that's when everything broke loose because the other girl snapped. And when she snapped, it's like it put everything on a trillion. Instead of 1 to 100 real quick, it went from 1 to a trillion in less than a fraction of a second. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, okay, so the way these powers work, it works off of the will. The will influences reality. So I just like my mantra was like, I do not have any enemies. I do not have any enemies. I do not have any enemies. So I'm just in the corner of this space while everything is going down, just repeating that and repeating that and repeating that. And like the dream earlier, the fight kept going on. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she had just turned into like a whole monster or whatever she was. I don't even remember. And then like she had basically destroyed everything else. And then she was coming for me. And I just kept, it's interesting because like my eyes were closed and I was repeating the mantra, but I could see everything that was happening. It's a dream, you know? But when she got closer to me, then it's like it broke her out of her rage because she could hear me like, I don't have any enemies. I don't have any enemies. I don't have any enemies. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not interested in this battle. I don't want more. Like, this isn't what I want. And then she snapped out of it. And when she snapped out of it, everything like came back into place. And then we talked a little bit, and she was like, yeah. So like now you know what a power of this magnitude, like what the level of self restraint that a power of this magnitude comes with. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Okay. And I didn't even like what makes it so bad. I was like, I didn't even ask for that power, bruh. In the first, I'm like, I'm literally just trying to get back inside the house. And then some dude, because he couldn't get Selena, he go off to try to create bliss. And there was another thing. It was something about money or something like that. And I think it was in the first dream because again, when I'm trying to get in the house, I just overhear them saying stuff. I'm just focused on getting in the house. Um, but there was something like a large sum of money that someone had willed into existence or something like that. But it had to come from somewhere. There was something going on, and there was some association or whatever. Maybe it wasn't money. And I remember someone being like, so like this association or those people, like they haven't figured it out yet. And he was like, no, maybe he paid him off. I don't remember. But anyway, everything goes back to normal after that. Cause she heard my mantra, like, girl, I'm not trying to fight you. Why you do this? And then she was like, okay, so we're good. I was like, yes. She was like, all right. And so she walked off. And again, everything was back to normal. Or back to when that dream began, except they weren't on the ladder anymore because she was the second girl was talking to me. And then I heard her run off like, oh, girl, I got to tell you what just happened. And then I woke up. But when she said, girl, I got to tell you what just happened. So she was the one on that side with the power. And the girl who was yelling at me was the person that she basically entrusted everything to. Like she told everything. And so basically, after she came back to reality, and when we were on the same page of not wanting to fight each other, it's like everything that was done was undone. And no one had a memory of it except for us two. And that's why she was like, girl, I got to tell you what just happened. So basically, she was going to tell the girl of what happened. And she was going to tell the girl that I inherited the same gift and ability. And after everything that happened, I guess in the dream, I knew that I had to resign myself to a bland life as well, of no joy or nothing. Because if you enjoy anything too much, everyone turns into a cookie. Everything becomes too sweet or something. I don't know. And that's literally all I wanted to talk about. It was a super weird dream that I just had. And look, there's the Ace of Pentacles. The whole world shifted and changed. So, bottom of the deck is the Archangel of Mysteries with the Ace of Pentacles. So I don't know. I felt like I had to do that since the cards were out. But I hope everyone has a good whatever whenever y'all see this. I'm gonna still go be productive even though it's really late and I'm hungry. My plan today was to finish all of the businessy type things. And I made all of the calls that I needed to make. And I got some other stuff done that I wanted to get done. So it's not a complete wash. All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye.